I realized something was wrong the day I stopped recognizing my own reflection. Not because my face had changed. Because my eyes no longer looked like they belonged to someone who wanted to be here. They looked like the eyes of someone waiting for permission to disappear. People think escape is loud, dramatic. A slammed door, a packed suitcase, a goodbye note. But real escape is quiet. It happens slowly, in silence, while everyone assumes you're still the same person. I didn't run away. I faded. It started after the accident. Not the kind with sirens and blood and witnesses. The kind that happens inside you, where nothing breaks on the outside, but everything collapses where no one can see. I was 36. I had a job that paid well enough. A partner who loved me in the way people love routines. A small apartment with clean windows and no personality. My life looked finished. Not successful. Just finished. Like a book no one cared to reread. The accident wasn't physical. It was emotional. A phone call in the middle of the night. A voice I hadn't heard in years. My father. We weren't close. We weren't distant either. We existed in a polite silence, checking on each other the way people check the weather. Neutral. Predictable. He told me my mother had died. No long explanation. No emotional speech. Just a sentence, clean and final. I felt nothing. That was the first crack. Not sadness. Not shock. Just an empty pause where emotion should have lived. I thanked him. I said I was sorry. I promised I'd come to the funeral. Then I hung up and went back to sleep. The next morning, I woke up with the same feeling I'd been carrying for years, a quiet heaviness behind my ribs, like a weight I couldn't name. At the funeral, people cried. I didn't. I watched their faces instead. Watched how grief moved through them like weather. Some collapsed into it. Some hid from it. Some performed it. I stood there like a guest at the wrong event. When it was my turn to speak, I said nothing meaningful. A few sentences about kindness. About time. About love. Words that sound correct without actually saying anything. Afterward, my father hugged me for the first time in years. His arms felt unfamiliar, like furniture moved into the wrong room. That was when I understood something I had been avoiding for a long time. I wasn't grieving my mother. I was grieving the version of myself that used to feel things. Back home, my life continued exactly as before. Same job. Same partner. Same conversations about groceries and weekends and future plans that felt like someone else's dream. And yet, something inside me had shifted. I began staying longer at work. Not because I had to. Because the silence at home felt heavier than the noise of the office. My partner noticed. Asked questions. I answered with half-truths and tired smiles. I'm just stressed. Stress is a convenient word. It explains everything and means nothing. One evening, I came home to an empty apartment. My partner had gone to visit family. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was loud. It pressed against my ears like pressure underwater. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the reflection in the dark window. And for the first time, I asked myself a question I had avoided for years. Is this my life, or just the place where I stopped trying? I didn't have an answer. What I had instead was an urge. Not to fix things. Not to talk. Not to change. Just to leave the room. So I went for a walk. No destination. No headphones. Just the sound of my footsteps and the city breathing around me. That walk turned into a habit. Every night, I walked further. Past streets I knew. Past neighborhoods I didn't into places where no one recognized me. There was something comforting about being unseen. One night, I ended up at the old train station. The one that barely operated anymore. Mostly cargo. A few late-night departures. I sat on a bench and watched the digital board change times. A strange thought crossed my mind. No one would know if I got on one of these trains. The idea didn't feel dramatic. It felt logical. I didn't move. But the thought stayed with me. The next weeks became quieter. My partner tried to reconnect. Asked if something was wrong. Suggested therapy. Weekend trips. Conversations about the future. I nodded. Agreed. Participated. But inside, I had already started leaving. Not physically. Emotionally. I stopped correcting people when they misunderstood me. Stopped explaining my feelings. Stopped caring if I was truly seen. I became easier. Simpler. Hollow. One night, after another long walk, I found myself standing in front of a small, dimly lit bar I'd never noticed before. The sign flickered like it was unsure whether it wanted to exist. I went inside. The place smelled like old wood and forgotten conversations. Only a few people sat scattered across the room. No music. Just murmurs and clinking glasses. I ordered something strong. The bartender didn't ask questions. That felt rare. At the far end of the bar, a man sat alone, staring into his drink like it owed him answers. After a while, he spoke. Not to me. Just to the space between us. Ever feel like you're already gone? I looked at him. Every day. We didn't exchange names. We didn't need to. The conversation wasn't about identity. It was about absence. He told me he had once been someone important. Had a family. A reputation. A future people expected him to fulfill. Now he worked at the docks under a different name. Not because I had to, he said. Because I wanted to stop being the person everyone knew. That sentence stayed with me. I asked him why. He smiled without happiness. Because sometimes, staying is more painful than disappearing. When I left the bar that night, the city felt different. Not darker. More honest. The idea of leaving no longer felt like fantasy. It felt like a door. I didn't plan anything at first. I just started making small changes. Withdrawing cash, cleaning my phone. Deleting old photos. Not because I hated my past. Because I didn't want to carry it with me. My partner noticed the distance growing. We argued. Then we stopped arguing. Silence replaced conflict. Silence always feels peaceful until it becomes permanent. One night, we sat on opposite ends of the couch, watching a show neither of us cared about. I feel like I'm losing you, they said. I looked at the screen. I don't think you ever had me, I answered. The words came out calm. Almost kind. They stared at me, waiting for more. There was nothing more to give. I slept on the couch that night. In the morning, I packed a bag. Not everything. Just enough to not look suspicious. When my partner woke up, I was already dressed. Where are you going? They asked. For a walk, I said. It wasn't a lie. I just didn't say how far. The train station was quiet. A few travelers. No one looking at anyone else. Everyone carrying their own reasons. I bought a ticket to a city I'd never been to. Not because it was special. Because it was anonymous. As the train pulled away, I watched my old life dissolve into motion blur. I felt no relief. Only a strange calm. In the new city, I became invisible. New job. New name. New routines. Small apartment with thin walls and no memories. No one asked about my past. No one expected anything from me. For a while, that felt like freedom. I woke up without purpose. Went to work without attachment. Spoke to people without investment. I had achieved what I wanted. Absence. But absence has weight. The silence that once comforted me now followed me everywhere. There was no one to disappoint. No one to leave. No one to disappoint me. At night, I walked again. Different streets. Same emptiness. One evening, I passed a playground. Children laughed. Parents watched. Someone called a name that wasn't mine. For the first time in months, my chest tightened. Not with regret. With recognition. I hadn't escaped pain. I had just changed its shape. I started writing. Not stories. Not letters. Just thoughts. Confessions no one would read. I wrote about my mother. About my father's voice. About the moment I realized I felt nothing at the funeral. I wrote about my partner's face when I said they never had me. The more I wrote, the heavier the pages became. One night, I realized something unsettling. I didn't miss people. I missed who I was with them. The version of me that still reacted. Still felt. Still believed my presence mattered. I had erased that version in the name of peace. But peace without meaning is just silence with better marketing. Months passed. Seasons changed. My life remained quiet. Then one evening, my phone vibrated. An unknown number. I almost ignored it. But something told me not to. It was my father. He had found me. Not through technology. Through instinct. Through knowing me longer than I had known myself. You left, he said simply. Yes. Are you okay? I hesitated. I don't know. We spoke for an hour. Not about my disappearance. About my mother. About things he never said. About the mistakes we both made by avoiding difficult conversations. Before we hung up, he said something I hadn't expected. Running away doesn't make you lighter. It just moves the weight to a place you can't share it. That night, I didn't sleep. I realized my escape hadn't been about freedom. It had been about fear. Fear of staying. Fear of confronting the quiet emptiness growing inside me. So I chose distance over depth. Disappearance over discomfort. But disappearing doesn't solve the question. It just delays the answer. I didn't go back. Not to my old life. But I stopped running from myself. I started talking to people again. Not superficially. Honestly. Slowly. Carefully. Not because it was easy. Because it was necessary. The silence in my chest didn't vanish. But it softened. Some days, I still think about the train station. About how easy it was to leave. And how hard it is to stay. Staying means feeling. Failing. Being seen. Disappearing only requires distance. I learned something important. You don't escape life by leaving it. You escape it by refusing to feel it. And the quietest tragedies aren't the ones where people vanish. They're the ones where people stay, but stop being present.